ready for Highdeology, you artistic pieces of shit. Highdeology, yo, light your blunts and pack your bowls. Highdeology, bro, burn that shit like acetone. Highdeology, yo, introducing Salty Paul. Highdeology, bro, you can lick it, salty balls. Better open up the door, bitch, it's gorilla. Got your pussy asses screaming like no vanilla. If you're new up in this bitch, then you might be lost. You might just get the shit cannon like Kawaii tossed. Sorry. So give me the lighter, light the cigarette fire. This is the shit we admire. Get the business down to the wire. You must be tripping, this ain't easy work. We burning Bibles and Qurans like we TJ Kirk. Damn. Because Paul is on a mission, obliterating the tism of this generation of offended bitches and syllogisms, tripping acid, having mystical visions, and staying in the mid, growing older and older while you be shitting. Got your girlie getting wetter, why you still screaming, DB better? I don't really give a shit if you a fantasy, get banned when you mention the manatee, and can it be a little bit of vanity? Got me questioning my sanity, pessimistic philosophy, honestly, I want my Highdeology. Yo, light your blunts and pack your bowls. Highdeology, bro, burn that shit like acetone. Highdeology, yo, introducing Salty Paul. Highdeology, bro, you can lick it, salty balls. You can lick it, salty balls. You can lick it.
It's very true. You can lick my salty, sweaty balls. Give me a second while I fix up this chat problem. As always, I forget to do this. I'm always like, what's the last thing I got to do before I do this? Oh, I'm done. I can start it. And I go, oh, wait, I got to fix the chat. I swear to God, back in the day, this chat thing used to work like automatically. YouTube changed something. Now I have to change the fucking chat URL every time. 1, 2, 3. There we go. Hello, everybody. YouTube, pretty slow with the notifications. Back in my day, this used to be easy. Trying to remember everything I need to take to work gives me that same feeling. Oh, yeah. Or like going shopping without a list. You know what I mean? Damn. Amelia's on it tonight. Everybody better fucking watch their P's and their Q's and their A's through Z's. Hey, Paul, you must be shocked to learn that the Fighting Boys picked TNG as the best show ever. I mean, the guys are both, moderately strong Trekkies, so that's not super strong, crazy to me that they would pick that. What's on the mind tonight? I don't know, man. Little of this, little of that. Little of this and a little of that. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what I would, boil down as the best TV show of all time. Sopranos would be up there for me. Just in terms of like my enjoyment of the entirety of the show and the length of the show, I think too. I think the Sopranos ran its course really well. Like a lot of shows I feel like are good, but they linger too long, hang around a little too long or have too many filler episodes or whatever the fuck. But I really don't feel like that's the case with The Sopranos. I think The Sopranos has a couple of episodes that might border on filler. TNG, yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like, I love The Next Generation as much as the next do it. I loved it when I was a kid, and I still enjoy it now. But there are a lot of really just bad episodes of that. Really bad episodes, just kind of like boring or pointless episodes that were just kind of like filler. Me and TJ were kind of talking about that on his stream last night, the idea of the procedural and how these TV shows have changed from the procedural model, which was basically like pretty much with, a few exceptions, every episode is its own little encapsulated story. So next week, something else happens, and then next week you got a whole nother storyline, and it everything kind of comes to fruition within the runtime of one show. And that was probably really good at keeping people watching back in the days of TV. Because if you think about it, when these types of shows came out, you had to fucking wait a week. You know what I mean? There was no sitting down and binging on Netflix or anything else. You know what I mean? You could tape them as they came out and go back and rewatch them and binge them, I guess. But when it came to like seeing the new episode, you had to wait till next week, next Tuesday or next Wednesday or whenever it came on. So the procedural was really good at keeping people like, thanks Eric for the $10, by the way. It was really good at keeping people hooked because they never knew what was coming next week. But with the current kind of paradigm, they're writing shows completely differently. Whereas instead of you're getting like a different encapsulated story every episode, you're getting one long story that unfolds over the course of many episodes and seasons with you know, an arc that's aimed at a seasonal arc rather than like an episodic arc. So, you know, the first 3 episodes of any show are going to be cock teases because it's really like the getting you into it. And then, oh, man, you hit this crescendo about midway through, and then, you know, or you slowly just ramp yourself up to that climax. It's a couple of different arcs that they use, but you get the drift. It's not procedural television anymore. I kind of miss that, you know. I'm not saying that, you know, I can't enjoy a TV show that's not like that, but I kind of miss that. Put on some ambient music, some space music. Oh, yeah. I have to say that the week of suspense really did something. We'd speculate on the playground. Yeah. I mean, there was... Look, I'm not saying like it's a good thing to have to sit and wait for something. It clearly isn't. But, you know, yeah, it was spaced out. Your enjoyment of something wasn't contingent on, can I sit here and watch this for 12 straight hours until my eyes bleed and not get, you know, bored or pissed off at it. You know, even if you ran across a shitty episode of The Next Generation, you know, the worst that you thought if you liked the show was like, okay, well, I hope next week's show's not shitty like this one. Original Magnum PI is cheesy as hell. It's my favorite TV show. Put that shit on anytime I want to relax. And I liked Magnum PI back in the day. There was a lot of those like crime, like buddy cop kind of comedies or comedy/action shows like Magnum PI. There was Hardcastle and McCormick. I'm trying to remember the other ones. Miami Vice. Chips. Chernobyl was really good. HBO, you know, original series. I think it was like 5 episodes or 6 episodes of Chernobyl. It was really good. I think it suffered a little bit from slowly but surely kind of like petering out. It was kind of hard to keep that tension all the way up through it, but it was good. Hello, Mr. Naughty Priest. Thank you as always. Hope you're doing well. What a guy. What a fella. Chips. Yeah. First episode gave you goosebumps. Yeah. I mean, it's really good. Really like crazy dramatic recreation of the Chernobyl disaster from a town like across the river or whatever. Pripyat. So we've reached, I don't know, we don't talk politics a lot here, at least not recently. I've taken a long break from it, but I figure we'll maybe yak a little bit. Now keep in mind, I'm not super up to date on exactly what's going on this week news-wise, but recently just kind of like dipped my toe back into looking at political stuff. Not anywhere near as often as I used to. And we've reached this very like predictable point that's always so crazy making when you invest yourself in politics in one way or another, which is it's this point where like the honeymoon phase is over and people realize that they're not going to be able to surf on will Trump woulda forever. And so people just kind of retreat into this cocoon of waiting till the next time they have to cheerlead for the shitty fucking politician. They all go into a chrysalis until like right after the midterms, and then they start cheerleading. And as I've started thinking about it, and I was kind of talking to TJ about this last night a little bit too, and it got me to thinking about it today. It was like the whole 2020 election cycle, the 2020 election and the whole cycle that led up to it was like a fucking vampire on me. Just like sucking the life out of me, right? And so when it was over, I still argued with people about this, that, or the other thing, but a part of me put that whole election cycle like under the bed. Just like tucked it away in a closet somewhere, you know what I mean? I shoved it up under the bed. I was like, you know, I'm not gonna, I don't even want to think about this anymore. I was just so done with it, so done with hearing about it. And, you know, a lot of people ramped up their continual kind of talking about it. And so I did stay immersed in the outcroppings of the election for longer than I thought I would. But when it came to like just thinking about and analyzing the election and shit, man, I stowed that shit pretty quick. And only recently, because I know that the midterms this year are going to mark the beginning of that again, I've only recently started examining some things from that time. And to be honest with you, there wasn't a whole lot that was surprising to me. And I'm not trying to, like, once again, I'm not trying to claim like I'm Nostradamus or something, but you can go find me like in 2018 or some shit saying like, oh, it'll be Joe Biden, 100%. And this was back when Bernie was polling really well, you know what I mean? We were looking at that huge stable of candidates. It happened on a DFF show. We were looking at the whole stable of Democratic candidates for the primaries. And we were picking which one we thought it would be. And I was the only one that said it'll be Joe Biden. So suffice it to say, I wasn't shocked by a whole lot of things about that electoral cycle, but one thing did shock me. And it was how quickly people capitulated to the status quo when they, to use a powerful but I think appropriate term, raped him out of the race. So many people that had spoken with such reverence about Bernie. And to be honest with you, I was kind of an outsider looking in there. I liked Bernie's politics better than I liked anybody else's on the stage. But I caught a lot of fucking flack for not being super reverent of Bernie, which is kind of what shocked me, because when Bernie got scuttled, people turned so quick. Like the people that were, for lack of a better term, Bernie or bust, went from that to like hating people that were just like, no, I'm not giving up on Bernie. Absolutely not. It's Bernie or it's nobody. This is ridiculous. This country doesn't need a Joe Biden. This country needs a Bernie and then some. So go fuck yourself. In that position, I thought there were going to be a lot of people that held that position. And it turned out there were actually very few people, in my opinion, that really stuck that out. And I'm just like, man, what is this even about anymore? Because one of the things that shocked me about Bernie, both of Bernie's candidacies, honestly, were the kind of overwhelming amount of goodwill that he seemed to engender wherever he went. And how stark it was that this dude was getting scuttled over and over and over and over again. And it was just immediate for people to drop this guy both times. Both times. I'm with her. He kind of facilitated that, honestly. And then this last time, people just kind of rolled over and just like, all right, well, whatever. And I think people forget, like, Bernie was way the fuck ahead going into the primaries. Way the fuck ahead. Like, it's just so obvious that there was skullduggery afoot, you know, and people just rolled over and took it. And now here we are. Not only do people not talk about how he was cheated, I've seen people that at the time claimed that he was cheated go back and talk about how he was not cheated. It's almost like they need to undo the narrative that Bernie was cheated to justify continuing to soldier forth in the direction that they're going. Like, as if Bernie was cheated, then there's no way we can support Joe Biden, right? But if that was the true will of the people, then hey, what can you do, man? What's a superdelegate? What's the Monday massacre? Forget about all that. It was the will of the people. The DNC hate progressives pretty hard. I mean, there's a lot of fucking DNC affiliated people that label themselves as progressives. The DNC, I think, loves to flirt with progressivism because they know that it's populism. They know that it fires people up for their brand when there's somebody out there talking about Medicare or somebody out there talking about fucking forgiving student loan debt. Somebody out there fucking giving people a release valve to, you know, talk about how frustrated they are with fucking billionaire class or whatever. They like that. Oh, they used that. They coasted on that goodwill that Bernie gave them, and then they pull the rope-a-dope. And everybody falls for it. Twice. Bernie, clear favorite candidate. Clear favorite candidate. Clear favorite candidate. Clear favorite candidate. Hillary Clinton. Pull the rug, Hillary Clinton. Everybody just goes, all right. Next electoral cycle, Bernie Sanders, clear favorite candidate, bigger crowds than anybody else, bigger fucking buzz than anybody else, more media coverage than anybody else, just super trajectory straight to the top, Joe Biden. And everybody acts shocked when you say what everybody should be thinking, which is like, this is a ploy. This is clearly a ploy. A clearly carried out ploy. And some people, in order to shield their egos or their ability to make, you know, money as evangelists for this continuation of, you know, this age-old tradition of latching ourselves to the Democratic Party and hoping that they're not what they are. These caucuses are so weird, basically, that people trying to intimidate each other to change their votes. Yeah. What's the ploy, though? Is it just to get passionate leftists to settle for worse candidates? Yeah. It's to funnel revolutionary passion into the grist of the fucking DNC mill. That's it. And there are people who are willing participants in that. That, you know, portray themselves as otherwise. Bernie's 100% aware of it. Absolutely. There's no way. There's no way he isn't. But Bernie was too nice. That was ultimately Bernie's downfall. He was too nice. He was too kind and too fucking into this idea that, like, well, you know, it's better for democracy if we go forward and let Joe Biden be president, Hillary Clinton be president. I'm too high for this depressing stuff. Then get the fuck out. Seriously, like, since when did I become the arbiter of your fucking mood, bitch? Bounce. You don't like it. I was just kind of thinking forward to this next electoral cycle, especially given my position, I guess, my job. And I was just thinking about, like, all the arguing I did with people who were just absolutely convinced that I was wrong, and how all of those people have disappeared again. And I'm not going to be there for them to suck off of this time. Like, it's not going to happen. Like, it's fucking ridiculous at this point that there are still people carrying that standard, or just being completely and utterly unwilling to even give me, like, the courtesy of going, like, well, you were right, Paul. I mean, yeah, I said some shitty, like, you know, it's just like there were so many people, hundreds, at least, typed shitty things, wrote screeds about me, fucking talked about how I was an agent of the Republicans or something because I wasn't towing the line. I got called everything, man. Secret Republican, a secret racist, a secret Trump supporter. All because I refused to toe that fucking Joe Biden line. All because I refused to toe that DNC line. I'm not gonna be the whipping boy for these people when they're all fucking engaged in a circle jerk, and then their comfort. This is how I feel, bro. I feel like I get to be, while the fucking shit is actually important, I get to be everybody's fucking whipping boy. I get to be everybody's little target for all their shitty little fucking self-congratulatory, self-back-patting bullshit. And then when everything I said comes true, I get to be a source of, like, release for them. As I continue to say the things that I was saying, I get to be a source of release as they get to agree with me now. And then it cyclically comes back again. I'm fucking done with it, bro. I'm done with that childish ass fucking nonsense. They're just not going to have access to me. That's just all there is to it. I'll talk about it. You make no fucking bones about it. I'll fucking talk about it. I just won't see a goddamn thing that anybody has to say about what I have to say about it. No social media bullshit. No checking that shit. No posting that shit. No responding to any of that shit. No reading any of the fucking comment sections. And I've gotten off of that. I read comments on our patron videos now. I don't read comments anywhere else. YouTube may as well delete that shit as far as I'm concerned. It doesn't exist. There's just, you know, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to waste my fucking time. I will say what I think, and people can run around and say whatever they fucking want. It's just they're not getting it from me this time around. They're not getting the satisfaction of it. It's not a mistake to speak your mind. It's a mistake to assume that you will change someone else's. And it's a mistake to engage with other people beyond just speaking your mind. Except for in very rare circumstances where those two people are both coming to the fucking table with the, equal footing and they're having a conversation. That's fine. But this idea of trying to engage with people, that was my biggest fucking mistake, dude. And it's sad to say it, but it's just the truth. Like, one of the hardest lessons for me to learn is the lesson of pay attention to your audience, but don't fucking listen to them. That may sound self-contradictory, but that's exactly how you're treated by every other goddamn fucking content creator out there. Every last one of them. Like, let's ingratiate ourselves with the audience. Let's condescend to the audience. But at the end of the day, who fucking cares what they have to say? And that was my fucking big mistake. My big mistake was engaging in the political arguments, not just with people that have big names, but with everybody. Well, that's over. That's over. I'm dead ass fucking serious, dude. I'll have a fucking conversation with somebody in the chat, but if I get an inkling that it's wasting my time, I'm just gonna ban your fucking ass. And that's it. That's how it's gonna go with the politics this season. You can go fucking rant and rave and whine about me on your social media all fucking day. I'll never see it. You're not gonna come into my shit and shit up my shit. It's not going to happen. You can hear me out and you can move on and discuss what I have to say. Or you can calmly discuss it with me. But I'm not going through that fucking shit again, man. That's just bullshit. Yeah. I used to think that people were fucking generally reasonable on the internet. I don't know if I was ever mistaken about that or ever right about that, but I'm clearly mistaken about that now. But yeah, dude, I can't fucking hang, dude. I that shit is going to start in 2022, this year. This is the year. Midterms, then the fucking campaigning will begin. The jockeying, the arguing. People are just boned up for it already. Oh, it's going to be fucking insane. And I'm telling you, dude, I'm just not doing it again. You'll hear from me. You'll hear what I have to say about it, but that'll be it. That'll be a one-way street. Slamming that door. When it comes to politics, it's the way it is. You think we'll see more bottom-up violence like January 6th or some of the more rowdy BLM riots? I don't know. We shall see. We shall see if violence gets exported up the hierarchy at any point. I mean, I think that the fucking time is ripe for it. People are stressed to the fucking max. Talking about being banned for being disagreeable or for disagreeing openly. I don't mind if you disagree with me, but I'm not, like, here's the thing. I'm not going to be called names. I'm not going to be spoken to like you're a fucking college professor and I'm a freshman that just pissed his pants in front of the class. It's not going to happen. Dude, there are people that come at me in ways that just, like, they fucking drive me crazy, dude. So that's what I'm talking about. You can disagree with me all you want. This ain't about disagreement, but I sniff one bit of bullshit coming out of you, and you know what? That's a one-way rule too, by the way. I'll call you whatever the fuck I want. If you're looking for hypocrisy, there's where you'll find it. Because I don't plan on fucking treating you any differently, but I'm not, dude, I'm not gonna sit here and be your fucking cum sponge again. Only to watch you roll around fucking 2 years later and come over to my side and come to me for fucking support. Oh, yeah. It's cathartic to hear somebody tell the truth about what's really going on, man. Especially if your dumbass fucking is intending to just get fucking hooked like Billy the Big Mouth Bass up once again into this whole process. You're going to come at me and preach the harm reduction fucking shit. But if I don't vote, how am I supposed to get selected for that sweet, sweet jury service? Oh, yeah, jury service. Fan-fucking-tastic. Yes. You like eating big chunks of government cheese? Cool. You hated jury duty, one of the reasons you don't vote anymore? Yeah, I don't blame you, I suppose. I had fun with jury duty, but it's definitely not something I would want to do again. I was on a long-ass jury, though. A way longer jury than most people sit. The 12 Angry Men, though. Yeah, it's good. It's a good movie. Which one did you watch? The original or the 90s remake? They're both fantastic, by the way. There's no wrong answer. How emotionally invested did you get in your jury service? Not very. I was personally invested in it because I know that if I was sitting on the other end of that I would want jurors to be attentive and to take their job in the case seriously. So I was serious about it, but I was not super emotionally invested in the case or my participation on the jury or any of that. Oh yeah, the 90s remake is fucking fantastic. They're both really good. It was over 6 months. It was like 7 months and change. I was on that jury. So yeah, half a year. And I had to leave before it ended. It's a civil trial too. It was absurd, like an absurd waste of time and money. If you want, like, my opinion on it, the entirety of that case, I don't know who was mismanaging it. It had to be the judge. The judge is really the person to blame for that sort of thing. But that case was just being allowed to be dragged and dragged and dragged to the point of absurdity by the lawyers. The whole jury was so happy when one of the lawyers would say, "Can we approach, Your Honor?" And he would say, "No, we're going to continue this testimony. I've made my ruling," or whatever. All of us wanted to cheer in the jury box because they were just such obstructionists. It's one of those things that I think a lot of people don't realize about. I think a lot of court cases are that, or try to be that, depending on, it's a judge's job to suss out the real objections from the time-wasting ones, and I don't think this judge did a very good job about that. It's also a judge's job to schedule things and to oversee this, scheduling of witnesses and appearances, and he didn't do that very well either, or didn't enforce it when those things were, you know what I mean? So I don't know. The judge was a no bullshit type of guy, but I really don't. There's just absolutely no way that jury needed to be fucking as long as it was. As far as I know, that jury was impaneled for 9 months. So a further 3 months after I left it, before they settled. Can you imagine being on a jury for 9 fucking months, and then one day you show up to jury service and you're like, "You're free to go." And you're like, What do you mean I'm free to go? I haven't done anything yet." No. They settled. Parties in this matter have settled. You're free to go. Thank you for your jury service. It's like, what? So basically, never mind. Whatever. I was pissed that I had to leave. And I had to. I was starting school. Like, I was quitting my job to go back to school full time. And, you know what I mean? There was no way I was postponing that for an indefinite amount of time. So when it got, a couple of weeks away, I was like, look, I gotta go. Sorry. I got a hardship or whatever here. I'm not sure what's scarier, a case being decided by a single judge or by a jury of your peers. The stories I've heard about how terrible juries makes me think we're screwed either way. You are. You can only hope for the best, man. If you're in a jury trial, your life really is in the hand of your lawyer. I make no bones about it. I guess that's the best thing that I could tell you is, like, if you ever have to face a jury for anything, you fucking sell your soul for a lawyer. You get the best lawyer that you can get because your life is on the line. Their ability to, and it's not just what you see in the movies either. It's not about being a fucking, crazy trial lawyer that puts on a big performance. That's fun to watch. You know what I mean? It's very fun to watch in a movie, but it doesn't happen. A really great lawyer knows how to read that jury. And if those lawyers had any clue how fucking pissed off, there's no way they couldn't have known. We were sitting right there seething every day. You know what I mean? And so, like, neither of them had the smarts to play to that jury. Neither of them. And that was, that had that whole jury sour. Did your job have to pay you during your jury duty? Yep. And so would yours. You're not allowed to be fired for jury duty. So, do you think court-appointed lawyers are any good? Usually not. And it has nothing to do with the fact that they're not good lawyers. It usually has to do with the fact that they're absolutely, completely, and utterly swamped. So, you know, on one end you have high-priced private lawyers, and on the other end you have overworked civil servants who have a stack of cases on their desk as tall as the fucking Eiffel Tower, and you're just one of those. So they do their, you know, their best for you, but their best for you is, you know, 1/100th of their power as a lawyer, because that's how much time they had to look into your shit. One time I was looking forward to jury duty, but it was because I was out of work and broke as fuck and needed the money. And like always, I checked a website the day prior and was told I didn't need to show. I mean, you probably would have regretted that almost immediately. It's not even like literally I try to take every experience, especially ones that not a lot of people get, and find the positive in them. But that jury duty was mostly just a waste of my time. And a waste of everybody's time on that jury. And even if it hadn't been a waste of time, even if it had come to fruition, there was no way that that trial was going to be competently decided by the bunch of people that I was sitting with. Nobody was listening. Nobody cared. Everybody had their fucking mind made up about it from day one. And that's everything you're cautioned against. Like, you're supposed to set aside. They even ask you, can you set aside your personal bias one way or another and hold that until you hear the evidence? And everybody on that fucking jury said yes. And every last one of those people lied. How hard is it to get out of jury duty? Not super hard, but you got to know how to do it. Like, it's not super duper hard, but you need to do it early during the jury selection process and during the process that's called hardship. So this jury that I was on, they knew it was going to be a long ass case. And so there were like 300 people called to jury duty that day, the day that I had to show up. And of that 300 people, only 50 people were left at the end of hardship. So that's a pretty good rate of cut right there. And hardship is basically just like, hey, I can't, you know, I have a job where they can't replace me, or I have children that I take care of, or I'm the sole caregiver for my disabled wife or my mother, or I have travel plans that I've booked that are non-refundable, and it would be thousands and thousands of dollars out the door. That, you know, that's the type of shit that'll 99% of the time get you out of jury duty. You just don't go. There's probably a bench warrant for you out. If you ever get pulled over, you're probably going to get taken down and cited. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying everybody makes it up. I'm just saying that's when most people get dismissed, and that's before you ever sit on the stand. If you make it through hardship, so there's a period of time before you ever are called up where it's like, you're going to submit your hardships to us. You're going to tell us if you can't serve on this jury for the allotted time and why. You're going to submit that to us. And that's before you ever go in the box, before voir dire, before the, you know, that voir dire is the process where the lawyers question the jurors and then decide whether or not to accept or reject jurors, and they have to agree on, you know, a full jury and alternates. So before because if you get in the voir dire box, you're fucked. You're fucked. If you think you're gonna pull your shenanigans in the voir dire box, you're not. See, that's where everybody waits to do it, and it's like, why? Do it in hardship. Everybody waits till after hardship because they don't want to make something up or whatever the fuck, and they think they're going to get kicked off the jury in the voir dire box. They're not. was in jury selection for a DUI case, and one of the lawyers asked, "Do you think police lie?" And one lady said, "I always trust the cops no matter what," thinking she'd be dropped. She wasn't. Oh yeah, no. Like, they know, like, trust me, they know all the tricks and all the lies and shit. So you just have to take advantage of the actual process. They give you a process. If you can't be on the jury because you have X, Y, or Z to do, just tell them that. Hey, I'm in school. I've already paid for the fucking semester. I can't drop out of school. Okay, you're off. See ya. Thank you. Thank you for your service. Thank you for coming in. You can just tell them you're going to purposely vote against what everyone else thinks because it has to be an unambiguous vote. If you tell them that, you're going to be admonished by the judge. And if you continue to assert that under oath during voir dire, you can get charged with contempt of court. You don't get the fuck around. You can't just go like, "I think murder is good. I don't like bankers." You know what I mean? That's not going to get, there's literally none you can say. Like, there's no temper tantrum that can get you out of it. So you may as well just, when you get selected and they go into the hardship phase, you just come up with a hardship and try your hand at that. What happens if you mention jury nullification? Probably the same thing. Like, they're not going to get caught off guard. You're going to get caught off guard. Trust me. They've heard it all before. They've Googled the same thing that you have. Just say you're a racist. Once again, that's not going to get you fucking bumped off of a jury as quickly as you think it will. Most people don't just go like, "I am a racist." They hear it all the time. I'm not saying it won't work. Maybe it will, but trust me, I watched some people try some slippery ones, and everybody that I saw try that made it through. What if you say you don't want to do it? They're going to tell you tough titty said the kitty, but the milk's still good. I don't want to. Is having severe anxiety problems enough of a reason to not get picked for a jury? Probably. I would imagine. If you're sincere about it, just stand up during the court, drop your pants, take a giant brown worm on your seat, and everyone there will remember that case forever. That is true. You will go to jail for contempt of court and public defecation and desecration of a courtroom and probably a bunch of other things. You probably end up sitting on your ass in a year in a county jail. But whatever, you're right. Everyone will never forget that time that Mr. Naughty Priest took a coiler right there on his fucking jury seat. Thanks again, Naughty Priest. Anxiety kept you off a jury? Well, there you go. See, there was one time when I got to the voir dire phase and I was let go off of a jury. I think I've told that story before, but just briefly, it was a jury case that involved a carjacking. And I had been a victim, as I've told you guys that story too before, of a carjacking when I was 16. And so, you know, like when I said that during voir dire, the judge was angry because he thought I was making shit up, and he took me back to his chambers or whatever and looked it up on his fucking shit and saw my name there and immediately let me go. So just, you know, they don't want somebody that's emotionally compromised to that level on either side. You know what I mean? And the question was so direct. Have you ever known anybody that was a victim of a crime like the one that has been described in this case? Have you been the victim of, you know, and it's just like, yes. Yes, I have. And it does depend on the case, too. Not every case is, you know, and not everybody is going to have a valid excuse like that. If I'd made that up and that judge had taken me back to his little computer and looked at his, you know, fucking case record database or whatever the fuck, and my name didn't come up in conjunction with a carjacking case, my ass probably would have been in trouble for wasting the court's time. Like he took me back in his chambers so that he could quickly look up what I was claiming. And as soon as he saw what it was on there, he's like, "I'm sorry, son. You're released from jury duty. Thank you." Doodly-doo. Wasn't even allowed to go back in the courtroom. It was weird. It was like I thought he was gonna have to take me back in there and then do it officially. Nope. Sent me out to his little secretary and she walked me out the side way and I was just done. Okay. Being taken to a judge's chamber is a perfect start to a porn. Maybe for you. I don't know. I don't have that hot judge thing. First time I bet you felt grateful that terrible experience happened to you. I actually was kind of like, I don't know if grateful is the word, but it sucked to even get like it honestly at that time I was still being treated actively like with talk therapy and shit for PTSD. And so going into a court and hearing the recap of an event and seeing a dude that was being, you know what I mean? This is just the whole fucking thing was unpleasant. So I was definitely not happy about it, but it would have sucked having to sit on that jury. I'll tell you that much. So other people probably thought the judge killed you. Yeah, I bet none of them lied about anything. They were like, dude, he fucking disappeared that kid. That kid tried to say he was carjacked. He fucking disappeared him. Sent him to Sing Sing. Throw him in the hole and throw away the key, man. Whatever. Whatever. Jury duty. Give us a ghost story. What am I, your fucking dad? Not your pops. All right, I'm not your crazy uncle on a camping trip, all right? Besides, the only ghost story I know is far too scary for you. Are carjacking plots triggering for you? Not really. Like, to be honest with you, it was more, like, for me, it was more normal shit that I had to get over. And I've talked about it before. Like, it was more like average everyday shit that I had to learn to deal with in a normal way again. Driving at night was one of them. There was a period of time after that happened to me where you could just give up on me being in a car after sundown. I didn't even want to ride with somebody at night. And then another one was, you know, and this one, I'm not proud of it, but it's not like I had any fucking choice. It's like a fear of black people in public. You know what I mean? Not every black person, but in certain situations that are totally normal. Like, you're at a place and you get in your car and a black guy walks up next to your car because his car is next to yours to get in, and your fucking heart's going like a fucking drummer. You know, it sucks. Trust me. It's one of those things that you'll know if you've got. Yeah, I don't know if that dude was fucking drunk or what, but Jesus Christ. Too much stoopy. Yeah. The young men that kidnapped me were both black guys. And so that's, you know, that was the source of that PTSD reaction. I didn't treat people poorly because of it. It wasn't racism. It was, you know, or at least it didn't come from a racist place. It was literally because that's what had happened to me. Was I'd be sitting in a car and these dudes just walked up on me. And so anybody walking up on my car, but specifically for the longest, not a super long time, but for longer than the general anxiety, it was black folks walking up on my car or walking up on me in public or whatever the fuck. And it took exposure therapy and lots of talk therapy and shit to get over that. And I did. And, you know, that was really the worst of it for me because it made me, like, you would have that happen and then I would feel guilty about it afterwards. Like, after I calmed down about it, I would be like, man, that was so fucking stupid. You know what I mean? So it like compounded. You know what I mean? So like once you got through the little PTSD panic event, then you realize like, I just let a fucking normal person like scare the shit out of me just because they're black. Like what kind of shit is this? And you start berating yourself for that, you know? The fact that you openly talk openly about an address that you work on your racist preconception make you less racist than them. Well, yeah. I mean, that wasn't, like I said, that wasn't, I guess it technically was, but man, this chat is just fucking sickly tonight, dude. I don't know if it's been, I don't know if it's because I've like, it's been so long since I've done one of these like later in the evening, but holy shit, bro. This chat is just like, it's like a fucking limerick, bro. As a black dude that love you, man, this is kind of heartbreaking. Not just you being a victim, but the fact so many people are racist who have no negative experiences like you. Stay up, big homie. Yeah, no, dude. You know what I mean? That like it was something that I had to deal with because there was no way I was gonna walk around for the rest of my life being scared of an entire race of people because two people of that race made a fucking terrible choice with me. You know what I mean? There was no way I could go through it like that. Oh, hell no, man. No. Was molested at a young age for years after nearly a decade. People couldn't touch me, so I understand where you came from. Yeah, I mean, I can empathize, but not sympathize with that. It seems you're doing much better. Yeah. Oh yeah, dude. I mean, like I said, it took work, and facing it down and talking about the experience, and not just in therapy, but with people, and it just kind of disempowers it in your life or whatever the fuck. Needed a distraction like this for my busy shift tonight. Thanks, Paul. Amen. Well, thank you. Thank you for the $10. Very nice of you. And I'm happy to do that. That wasn't in the cards for me though, because I had, you know what I mean? Like, it was just, there was no way. I had friends that were black, and I just wasn't that type of person, man. I understand that, like, maybe some people are radicalized into like these more racist subcultures because of something horrible happened to them that involves somebody of another race or whatever. But for me, I didn't walk into it with those preconceptions, and so I didn't want to come out of it with those either. It could have easily been a couple of white kids or a couple of Hispanic kids that jacked me that night. You're telling me that there was none out there doing that? That's bullshit. You know what I mean? And when you realize that it was just absolutely fucking arbitrary, the skin color, not the act, then you realize that, your brain is falsely directing angst and ire at people that don't deserve it. And you learn to put that where it belongs, on the people who did what they did to you. And then you go about learning to forgive those people. That's therapy. I didn't realize how toxic my PTSD made me towards certain people until my aunt talked to me about it. Definitely something each person has to deal with in their own way. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's a tough thing. And, when you're a multi-diagnosis person like me, it can be even tougher, because PTSD is super comorbid with depression and anxiety, and, they all feed one another in just this horrible way. And so it's a tough thing, Dick ride me harder, Daddy. No, that's thanks, Johnny. That's nice of you to say. Did you forgive them? I mean, to an extent, sure. I mean, to the extent that I can't forgive them of what the state, prescribed as their fucking punishment or whatever the fuck. I can't give them back the lives that they gave up for what they did to me. But as far as me hating them every day of my life, or having toxic thoughts about them, or vengeance fantasies, or whatever the fuck, I just don't do that shit anymore, man. I've made peace with it. I was a fucking kid when it happened, and so were they. If I'm going to sit here as an old man and say that what they've been through in the ensuing years hasn't changed them, that would be to say that I haven't been scarred, marked, changed, or otherwise carved by the years that I've spent between those years and these. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean for the better either, for me or for them, but I can't hate a person I don't know. If one were to reach out to you to talk, would you agree to it? Maybe. I wouldn't even know how to deal with that, to be honest with you. I'd have to make up my mind about that in the moment. It's not something I think about, though. It's really not something that I think is ever going to happen. Also a severe PTSD sufferer. Glad I came here tonight. Yeah. Well, tis what it is. My PTSD made me hate so many types of people, but shrooms, LSD, and love help so much. That's what I'm talking about. All good things. Look, man, trauma is trauma, man. And it's a tragedy if somebody spits out the other end of trauma as a racist because of what happened to them. But there are worse things in the world. Trust me, they live in it. Untreated anxiety, depression, PTSD, man, it's a hell that you can't describe to another person. You just can't. You've either suffered it or you haven't. It's a type of imprisonment that people don't understand. And, there are fucking worse things in the world than that. Than, them being racist for the rest of their lives. Trust me, like I said, they're experiencing that. Because anybody that became a racist because of something horrible that happened to them, the echo of that is so much darker than the ignorance and blindness of their racism. My abuser reached out to you recently. I realized if I agreed to it, I'd kill him. Yeah. Well, I mean, you may. Yeah, that's a different thing, though. You know what I mean? These guys weren't abusers of mine, so I really don't know what I would think in that kind of an instance, but I get what you're saying. But it's a different thing to get over what you're talking about, you know what I mean? It's a different kind of crime. It has similarities or whatever, powerlessness and all that, but one of these things is not like the other. Well, it's one thing to say you can't let traumatic events rule your life, and it's another thing to experience those things. And I had to work real hard, and I was very lucky to be in a position where I had insurance and I could afford, when I was young, my parents were insured and shit like that, so they could send me to people. And then when I got older and really needed to start dealing with some of the stuff that I couldn't deal with on my own, I was lucky to be insured and lucky to be able to do years of talk therapy. But, a lot of people don't have that option. A lot of people don't know that exists or have some aversion to it. Yeah. I mean, to a certain extent, you can avoid that kind of shit, Chris. I gotta tell you, as a person that grew up in a house where there was lots of screaming and yelling, one of the things that I think left a bigger mark on my life than anybody could imagine was growing up in a household where people were screaming at each other. Because it caused so much escalation and so much silliness in my life and so much shittiness in my relationships. And only now, at this age, maybe, 4 or 5 years, have I gotten to a point where I'm not ruled by that angry part of me. And man, that's a hard fucking thing to unlearn. Dude, I get triggered as fuck by domestic situations and shit. I hate fighting. Hate it. Like, with that absolute red hot fiery passion. I don't want to fucking have that kind of argument with anybody ever. And when I do, I just feel bad about it. in a domestic situation. In an interpersonal space, especially when there are ideas at stake, oh, I don't got no problem with that. Some people may disagree with me, but to me, that's an appropriate direction of that kind of fucking aspect of my nature. Definitely couldn't date an Italian girl. I was actually married to an Italian woman. I'm married to an Italian girl now. So, yeah, I think I can be. I think vitriol has a place, and that place is debate and argument when it comes to philosophy. Sure, why not? Why the fuck not? Trauma, verbal abuse, a young man forced me into a doormat position in most of my early relationships. It's not uncommon for people to have rage response, I wager. Sure. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean, James. I, had a similar thing happen to me, and I react similarly to guns. Guns are still one of the things that can trigger a really quick PTSD response in me. Like if somebody whips a gun out or brings a gun in or has a gun, and it's, I don't surround myself with those things. I don't look at those things, so yeah. I would consider it rude to call my mother an idiot, but not someone I'm arguing with about economics. Sure, yeah. I mean, it's probably rude to call that person an idiot too, but, philosophy is a battlefield, man. Not everybody's going to come up and shake your hand. And so you got to be, you got to be prepared to deal with people like me in that arena. But you shouldn't deal with it in your home. You can turn me off, you know what I mean? You can fucking eject out of a debate with me. You can never watch me again. I'm not a permanent fixture in your life. There's a total impermanence to that. So that's why I think it kind of like pisses me off when I see people whining about how this show negatively affects their mental health, as if it's my job to coddle their personal mental. Like, look, dude, I don't fucking ask TV shows not to, show things that may trigger my fucking anxiety responses and shit. If one of them does it too much, I just stop watching it. I feel like that there's a positive aspect to people being more open to talk about their mental problems. And I try and do that when it comes up naturally as a subject, because I think that too few people are willing to do that. That being said, I think that the openness about it has had some deleterious effects too. And one of those has been people are very, very quick to blame other people for their mental states in situations where they had all the control. It's one thing if you're like being abused by a partner you live with, absolutely, they're to blame for a lot of your problems. But if you're talking about a content creator or a TV show or a cartoon, or you know what I mean, there's no way. There's just no way. Right. Well, here's the thing: is like they've gone halfway, Phoebes. It's like one thing. There's basically two steps to treatment of mental health. One is finding out and admitting that you have the problem, and then two is, days and days, weeks and weeks, and in some cases like mine, years and years of fucking sitting on a couch. Talk therapy, pharmaceutical therapy. You know what I mean? Work. And it's like they're stopping at, I'm triggered by pictures of meat, or I'm triggered by depictions of rape in media, or I'm triggered by the use of certain words. And they're not doing what I did to get over the fact that every time, like, what was I to do? Like, think about if I did the same thing with my case. Can black people stop being black around me, please? We really need to set up a fucking thing where black people just don't run up on white people in public and get in their cars and shit, because it's really triggering to people like me. Do you see how that doesn't hold up? So this idea that everybody else has to fucking warn you every time there's going to be a picture of a meat or a frank description of fucking rape or whatever the fuck it is, that's defeating the purpose of trying to get better. That's defeating the purpose of battling against your mental illness. It is not healthy, and it is not mentally fucking sound for you to be triggered by a picture of a piece of meat or a fictionalized rape for the rest of your life. Doesn't mean you have to seek that media out, but it's not everybody else's problem to deal with. It's yours. That's the saddest thing I think about it, honestly. When I say it, I mean this kind of new awareness that people have of their own mental state. It's like a lot of people get to step one, and there's this wonderful sense of community now that people can seek out other people that suffer their diagnosis and stuff, and they get to step one and they surround themselves with those people, and that's great. I didn't have access to that, I think that's great. But then it leads people to kind of be in these echo chambers where it's like, well, the world really ought to fucking change for us. And it's not gonna. That's not the way it works. Like I said, my PTSD had a particular, and it wasn't the only thing about it. Like I said, guns still to this day. That's one thing that I didn't really work super hard to desensitize myself to, because I don't think that, especially in my life, I don't have to be surrounded by fucking guns. I don't let people come over to my house with them. You got a gun, you better hide it well on your person if you want to come visit me, because it doesn't darken my doorstep. I don't like having them around. And so, especially not other people's. So, you know what I mean? But think about it, like one of the particular aspects of my PTSD was I had irrational fear of black people in public. So what am I to do in that situation? Run to the black community and tell them to stay away from me? Tell them to walk up very slowly with their hands up so that I know that they're not going to pull a gun on me? No. I went to therapy and I confronted that part of my PTSD and I got over it. Now I go out in public and a black person is a person. That's what you should do too. Do you think some people get to the point of fetishizing their triggers? I don't know. Maybe. I suppose so, yeah. Maybe not sexually fetishizing them, but like in the traditional psychological sense of a fetish, yes. Absolutely, I do think that some people do that. I also think that an unfortunate byproduct of this kind of new openness about mental health, coupled with the fact that healthcare just gets worse and worse in this country, is that we have a lot of self-diagnosis going on. And I think a lot of people don't understand how destructive that can be. to both yourself and to other people. You know what I mean? You don't diagnose yourself. It's fine to look online and suss out what you think you might have, but there's a reason that people go to school in order to fucking be able to properly diagnose people. And a lot of self-diagnosis is bunk, and I think a lot of people will use self-diagnosis and this, like I said, newfound kind of openness and discussion and this kind of rolling back of the stigma against mental illness and use it as an excuse. Oh, I have depression. When you just don't want to face something, you know. Having no idea that depression doesn't mean not wanting to face something, it means not wanting to face anything. Or I have to leave because I have anxiety to get out of something, or to get away from a conversation that's unpleasant, or a social gathering that is lame, or to get out of doing something that you promised to do that you don't want to do. Not understanding that having anxiety means that it's with you every day, like a fucking predator on your back gnawing at you, and you have to constantly work to ignore it. You know what I mean? Anxiety is not feeling uncomfortable or bored in a situation and being fidgety. Depression is not feeling blue every once in a while, or being sad when you think about a certain thing. You know, and I think that self-diagnosis has led a lot of people to misunderstand and misapply those diagnoses. People self-diagnose. Yeah, I mean, and like, look, dude, I'm not going to sit and claim I know anybody, because I don't know one diagnosis from another. I'm not a fucking doctor, right? Like, when it comes to your personal diagnosis, but I know for a fucking fact that I have talked personally, especially here in the online space, to multiple people who have diagnoses that they give me that are bullshit. They've never gotten it from a doctor. They probably don't even have what they're saying they have. And it just cheapens it, you know what I mean? Because it's just like, what's interesting about me? Oh, I'll tell people that I have an anxiety disorder. Or I'll tell people that I have PTSD, and I don't. Because that makes me different from everybody else in the room. When really, if you look at the statistics, it doesn't. 75% of the people in the room have a mental illness, so get over it and get yourself diagnosed for the right thing. And if you don't have a mental illness, fucking A, use that. Make that the fucking thing that makes you stand out. People seem to claim bipolar or OCD a lot when they don't. It's damaging, yeah. I mean, there's a lot. People claim depression a lot, anxiety disorders a lot, OCD, bipolar. There are people out there claiming they have fucking DID. You know what I mean? Dissociative identity disorder, what used to be called multiple personality disorder, MPD. You know what I mean? Those people are like fucking unicorns. People that actually have thoroughly studied and diagnosed DID are like fucking 1 in 100 million or some shit. And like every kid online has it. Give me a fucking break, bro. I've got different personalities in my head that come out. It's like, oh my god. Here's some attention. Like, okay, can you just shut up? Here's some attention. I wish you could just give some people some fucking attention. Or even better, teach people what it means to, like, if you feel like you want attention, why don't you be interesting? I know that sounds like dismissive, rude, and a little simple, but it's just the truth. Do you know who's interesting? Not people that are just born with the capacity to be interesting. People that have been through shit. You know how you go through shit? You got to go do shit. So go be interesting. Go get interesting. Because I got to tell you, dude, your fucking diagnosis is one of the things you learn in therapy, and this is the fucked up thing about it, that kind of brings it full circle to talking about this subject, the kind of new way that people look at mental illness. Is one of the fucked up things about it is when you're in therapy for a mental illness, one of the things you learn is to disempower it. Not to let it rule your life, not to wear it like a badge, not to fucking hold it over your own head, not to fucking seek it out. You learn to fucking take away its power, to diminish its power in your life, and walking around and, you know, using that as like a part of your personality that you try and sell to people, and you're not even diagnosed. That's pretty fucked up and pretty contrary to, you know, actually getting better. And that's another thing, you know, that you can talk about with this like trigger warning shit. Trigger warning. You know, people talk about poop in this video. Trigger warning. People talk about fighting in this video. Trigger warning. There's guns in this video. Trigger, you know what it runs contrary to actual treatment of mental illness. You shouldn't be abnormally triggered by the sight of poop or by the fictional portrayal of violence. Doesn't mean you have to immerse yourself in those things, but you don't have to let it rule your life to the point where you're reduced to a sobbing heap. Trigger warnings used to have a specific meaning. It was used to let people know about something that could possibly induce a panic attack if viewed. Right, and I understand that. But by the same token, I would rather have people have access to mental health treatment so that they're not abnormally triggered by the fictional or real portrayal of violence on the TV beyond just turning it off or changing the channel. There should, you know what I mean? And I, having been through the process, I firmly believe that it's possible for people to get better, not completely cured, but better. And that to me is better than because like, where does it end? You know, like I said, I'm like for a year or so, maybe even more after the event that happened to me, I was really triggered by black people. And just like at night in public, just whatever, you know what I mean? So is there supposed to be like a trigger warning? There's black people in this. See, it's very easy to slap a trigger warning on something that society can like all agree is objectionable. Rape, murder, violence. But that's not how mental illness works. A lot of people are triggered by things that are absolutely mundane and normal. So those people don't get a trigger warning. Those people have to deal with their shit, but you don't. Well, why? It had nothing to do with black men, though, Jawan, to be quite frank with you. It had to do with those two black men. Those two. The two kids that walked up on me with a gun and robbed me and kidnapped me and dumped me in a field. The other people that I was bumping into at the gas station and at the mall and at fucking movies and whatever as I tried to start going out, they didn't run up on me with a gun. They weren't acting any certain type of way that made me feel that way. It was just because they resembled in skin tone the people that did what they did to me. And that layered with a lot of probably fucking ugly preconceived notions from my family. I was raised in a household where you know, my parents had racist preconceptions and shit. I was raised around people who would make shitty racist jokes and, you know, shit that wasn't even jokes. Shit that was just like, oh yeah, that's how they are, you know. Lazy, stupid, late, whatever. So I was raised around that shit. Then this shit happens to me. I'd already worked as a kid to overcome that shit. Then this shit happens to me, and all of a sudden, it had nothing to do with them acting any certain type of way or dressing any certain type of way. It was because I went through something that's fucking unfathomable for most people. Most people can't even imagine going through something like I went through. Having a gun to their head for an hour and a half. Being kidnapped by two people and taken out into a field and made to strip butt naked. Taken right from in front of your house. Just imagine it. Imagine that shit happen to you. You know? Most people, thankfully, will never go through something like that. But when people do, you got to deal with some shit. Your brain's got to suss through some shit. That's all there is to it. I refuse to believe every vegan online that demands them actually has a panic attack when they see meat. They get offended, they get mad, they roll their eyes, and no. There's a lot of people who just think that feeling like uncomfortable in a situation is a panic attack. Dude, a panic attack feels like you're dying. If you talk to people that have panic disorders, they will almost uniformly tell you that a panic attack literally feels like the world is closed in on you and you're being crushed, or your heart is literally gonna blow out of your chest and it feels like your fucking body is dying. It triggers all those fucking mental and emotional responses that happen when your body is in trauma, puts you in fucking constant fight or flight, and it makes you a basket case. Okay, so you feeling nervous about going to work or anxious about a trip coming up, that's not fucking anxiety or an anxiety disorder. That's normal human anxiety. There's a normal level of like shit. And if you're talking a panic disorder, dude, if you actually had a panic attack, there would be no fucking way for you to ever misconstrue anything for it. Once you've had one of those, you know exactly what it is, and you never forget it. Oh, it's total helplessness. There's shame and helplessness to it, and it's just crippling. Absolutely crippling. And it goes on inside long before it bursts out into actual, like, behaviors. A panic attack sufferer will sit there for hours while one just fucking builds inside of them. And then they have a panic response or a meltdown. And dude, I wouldn't put my fucking worst enemy through that. Or feel rage after having a panic attack? No. Rage? No. Panic attack is like fear, concentrated, absolute dread. It's like dying. Like I said, it's like the Grim Reaper is there. You're being taken. You know what I mean? It's fucked. Like I said, it's not a nervous feeling. It's not an anxious feeling. You know, those softer kind of things that I think are normal parts of normal human psychology. This is malformed psychology. Every panic attack I've ever had feels like a heart attack. I used to think like, oh, once I learned that what I was having was not some kind of fucking cardiac event, but actually a panic attack, I used to think like, oh, well, now, at least I'll really know what a heart attack feels like. And then because it'll be way different from that, you know? And I was like, and then I learned, like, no, not really. A heart attack pretty much feels like a panic attack, and a panic attack pretty much feels like a heart attack at a certain level. You know, there are different levels of heart attack and different levels of panic attack. The rage comes from the shame. See, I don't have a rage response to shame. So, but I can definitely understand what you say. Why is it so trendy to say you have an anxiety disorder? I don't know. I don't know that it's as trendy as you think it is, but we talked about things earlier, and I think that there are a lot of people that use it as an excuse, when the whole idea of having an anxiety disorder and being treated for it is so that it doesn't keep you from doing things. And so I feel like a lot of people lean on it in order to get out of things. Definitely in this world, especially in a world that's way more openly accepting of these diagnoses. There are people out there exploiting it, self-diagnosing and getting out of work, getting out of social events, or getting out of this, that, or the other thing with their family or friends because of an anxiety disorder that they gave themselves, because it lets them have a ready-made excuse. You know what I mean? And from everything that I learned that helped me get through my fucking, at least what I could get through my mental illness to get to a semi-functional fucking state, was that you can't let it rule you. You can't judge yourself for it, but you can't let it rule you either. Like, if you're not fighting, then you're fucked. You might as well just, you know. Yeah, well, that's a good point too there, Phoebes. I mean, I can stave off a panic attack once I kind of recognize the signs of it. It's just that I have, you know, sometimes it ebbs and flows, right? I'll have ones that I think are easier for me to control, and then sometimes one just happens. And for one reason or another, I allow myself to get kind of spun up into the kind of preamble to it, and I don't notice and I don't stop it, and then it happens. And it is what it is, you know. Anyway, good talks tonight, guys. Yeah, have a good night, have a good day. We'll see you guys next time. Okay.